Well, authorities in Texas have presented a detailed timeline of this week's horrific school shooting in Uvalde, which claimed the lives of 19 students and 2 teachers. The number one question was why there was a delay from the time police arrived until the killer was taken out.
The on-scene commander considered it a barricaded subject and that there was time and there were no more children at risk. Obviously, based upon the information we have, there were children in that classroom that were at risk, and it was, in fact, still an active shooter situation and not a barricaded subject.
About 20 officers waited outside of a classroom for more than 45 minutes before a master key was used to enter, confront, and kill the 18-year-old gunman. Meantime, the National Rifle Association is hosting its annual convention in Houston today. The event comes just days after the shooting in Uvalde. 2 Texas lawmakers have decided not to attend out of respect for victims of the tragedy. And joining us now to discuss is Julio Rosas, senior writer for Townhall and author of the book Fiery but Mostly Peaceful. Julio, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it. I understand that you were recently in Uvalde reporting on this tragedy. Can you talk to us more about that?
Yeah, so originally I was in South Texas covering the border crisis in Eagle Pass, which is about an hour away from Uvalde. And so once we heard about just how terrible the situation had occurred in that town, we went up there. And by the time we got there, things had, in somewhat of a twisted sense, had calmed down. People were waiting outside the school, still waiting to hear news of where their kids were at. The kids were still unaccounted for, probably about 5 hours after the shooter had been eliminated. And so, over the course of the next few days, it was really heartbreaking to see kind of the reaction. I'd been to Uvalde before, again in the context of covering the border crisis. It's a very small town. We've talked to the mayor previously. And it was just it was a big shock because, I mean, this is a town of only 15,000 people. It's not super close to any big city. It's a working class Latino majority population. And it's just, something that they probably weren't expecting to having to deal with. And yet it did happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's such an unbelievable situation. And as you know, there was another press conference that was held today in Uvalde, but still really, a lot of unanswered questions like why it took so long for law enforcement to go in there and take out that shooter and save the children. What more do you know about that?
So it is my understanding, and this is one of the questions that I had because we did know not only about the death toll, which was very, very high, but we also knew that police were on the scene within a short amount of time. And so then the question was, well, why was the death toll so high? Presumably, the standard operating procedure that the police would have been following was to go in as soon as possible and take out the shooter. And it's because now we know they decided to wait because the on-scene commander, which is the chief of police for the school district, not the town, but for the school district, made the erroneous decision that this was no longer an active shooter. It was a barricaded shooter. And that does change police tactics for a little bit because basically coming from a military background myself as well, that we were taught that doorways are one of the most dangerous entrances that you can make in any close quarter confrontations. And so when you go from an active shooter to a barricaded shooter, that's why there was a hesitancy, I can assume, on the police's end to go in, because if you think, well, there's no longer a threat to kids, it's just one-on-one, that's why there might have been a hesitancy. Now, as obviously that was the wrong decision to make because kids were still making phone calls in the classroom saying that, no, we still need help. And so for whatever reason, the on-scene commander still either didn't get that information or still got that information and still went ahead, and that's why it had to take a Border Patrol BORTAC team to actually make the decision, okay, no, we're going in now. But, that was 40 minutes later, and so there's still a lot of unanswered questions, and it's just really tragic at the end of the day.
It absolutely is, and I wish we had more time to talk to you because so much more we can discuss, but unfortunately we're out of time. Julio, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you.